Hello guys, welcome to this another video, and in this video we are going to see the game between Divya Deshmukh versus Zhongyi from the Fide World Cup semi-final, where it was the second game between both of them and Divya was on the white pieces. And as we all know that right now that Divya won the Fide World Cup, but we'll see this game little bit deeper that how Divya won the semi-final by defeating Tan Chongi in the second match. So Divya started the game with e4, c5, knight f3, e6, Sicilian, but with the e6 pawn, I don't know, c3 played in the game. Definitely not the main move, but definitely a understandable side lane. Knight to f6, e5, knight d5, d4, cd, ed, sorry, cd, cd, d6, a3, stopping any kind of knight before threat or bishop before. So d5, d5, bishop e7, bishop d3, and this kind of structure whenever you are developing the bishop, so you can easily understand that white is going to play on the queen side, okay, and white will launch an king side attack in future. Knight b d7, d7 castle, b6, black is ready to develop the bishop. Knight b d2, knight to c5, bishop c4, knight c7. Slightly inaccurate move, there was no reason to move that knight. Clearly black can play bishop to b7, but I'm pretty much sure that Tan was not that much comfortable by getting this check on b5, so that's why he played some kind of prophylactic move knight to c7, but which is not necessary. b4, knight comes to d3, which is not again the correct way to play. Knight d7 was much better, with the idea of now white could continue with knight e4. But after knight d3, knight e4, still same idea, knight into c1. Here, queen into d8 was the best move, but white played queen into c1. How queen into d8 was giving an advantage to white? Queen d8, bishop d8. Now knight d6 check, king f8, rook a into c1, bishop b7, d7, bishop to b3, and now knight e8. Knight was kind of under attack by after knight b7, so knight has moved. Rook f d1, knight into d6, into d6, bishop f6, and in this moment definitely this d6 pawn gives white an upper hand. So queen into c1, bishop b7. Again, short castle was really important. So rook d1, knight d5 played, bishop into d5. Definitely not the correct way to continue. I don't know that how Divya missed the move bishop to b5 check. Maybe he thought after king f8 nothing is going to happen. That's why she has played bishop to into d5, into d5, and definitely bishop into d5 was the correct move. Knight to c3, castle, take, queen c6, a5, and after rook at b1, rook c8, queen b5, queen c7, and g3. White is somewhat little bit better, but not getting an enormous advantage. So ed5, now white will be able to succeed with his plan that this is two bishops you have, I have two knights, but my knights are much better and coordinated, whereas this d5 pawn is restricting the bishop. My knight can come to d4 anytime and block your pawn on d5, and then e6 will come with some sort of threats. So knight to g3, short castle, knight to d4. Now rook c8 happened, queen b2, rook e8, little bit inaccurate. Again, g6 probably would have been better move to take away the f5 square. So rook e8, knight g f5, bishop f8, knight b5. Again, d6 square is the main targeted square which we have to give keep an eye. So rook e6 played, knight into a7. Again, knight f d6 was the best move here at this moment, but White has played knight into a7, rook to c4, knight to b5, rook to e4, knight bd4, rook e8, knight f3. Again, you can see that how white is playing with the knights. Okay, black's bishops are not that much effective. This is hitting the wall, this is also hitting the wall. There is no such breakthrough. This d4 pawn is going nowhere. So g6 happened, knight g3, rook c4, rook e1, queen to c7, rook to e2, bishop g7, rook a1, d4, knight e4. So plan was definitely bishop into f3. So we avoided knight e4. Now knight f6 or knight d6 is a threat. So black has played d3, knight d6, bishop into f3 played. What will happen if they will play? Sorry, bishop f3 has been played. Yes, here. So what will happen if they will take on e2? Simply I will take on e3 and the game will continue. So gf3 played d into e2, knight into e8, queen to c6. Not the best move. Probably queen into e5 was much better. That queen into e2, queen to g5, and the game would have been ended as a draw. So queen into c6, queen to e2, rook to c2, which is another mistake. Rook f4 was much better. Sorry, much better, keeping an eye on the f3 square, and the game will continue. So rook c2, after this mistake, queen e4, queen into e4, rook into e4. White has consolidated the position, white has exchanged the queen, and now this e5 pawn, white is having an extra pawn on the queen side as well as on the king side, and let's see how white will basically convert this advantage to a winning advantage. Bishop h6, knight f6 check, king g7, a4, bishop to d2. At this moment, knight d5 played by white, rook b2, king g2, rook b1, e6, trying to get rid of this weakness, f e6, rook e6, b5. Again, that was obviously under attack. B5, rook e7 check, king h6, and then a b5, bishop into b4. So it seems that okay, black has somehow consolidated the position. If black can take the b5 pawn, it will be a draw. But no, it's not a draw. That white will always keep one of the pawn and pose some problems for black. So rook to b7, rook to b2, again threatening bishop to e1. So knight to f6, you cannot play bishop to f1. So g5, knight to e4, bishop a5, rook to b8, king h5, king h3, rook b3, again threatening on f3, king g2, rook to b2 again, rook c8. The plan is if you take, I believe that I can take here as well. So king h6, rook to c5, bishop to d2, rook to c6, king g7, rook c7 check, king g6, knight into d2, and now Divya converted this position into a winning rook endgame. But here, important move to note, Divya played b6, which is a horrible blunder, which can lead to a draw. Correct move is rook to c6 first and then b6. But he has played b6 first, so rook b2, rook to b7, rook to b1, rook to b8, king to g7. That was the decisive mistake. If black goes king h5, game was ended as a draw. King g3, king h3, rook g1 check, king h3, rook b1, and simply will be keeping my king on g5 and rook behind the pawn, and there is no way that white can make a queen. So rook king g7 is definitely a blunder. King should be in the hidden square, or king should be in a hidden point out by their black pieces. So now king to g3, rook to b4, king g2, again another mistake. B7 was extremely necessary, yeah, at this moment. Then the game would continue king h6 before take king g4, and then simply the game will be winning by fight. Okay. Now king g7, king g3, rook b4, king g2, rook b1. The last decisive mistake, and after that there was no chance. Black white won the game in style, and we'll see the rest of the game quickly. h4, just trying to eliminate the g pawn. h6 take, h5, king h7, rook b7, king g8, rook b8, king g7, king g3, rook b3, and let's see. And after king h4, now the checkmate is unavoidable. Rook g8, rook b1, king c6, rook b3, queen takes and rook f3, h4, and at this moment black has resigned after king d5, because in the view of h3, king d5, h2, rook b1, and it will never ever become a new queen. Whenever it will become a new queen, we'll be taking that, and then sorry, and then king will come to g3 and make the new queen. I hope you like this video. If you like it, please comment it down below. If you have commented down, then please share with your friends, and if you are new in my channel, kindly subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.